Hi there, it is Cindy Fodor with Stamp the Love, and I'm excited to bring you a really cute box stand-up card, I guess you could call it. Um, so you can send it in the mail, and it turns into this adorable little box that your recipient will just love. And it'll be a great project coming up for our World Card Making Day, which is October the 3rd. And I want to challenge you right now to maybe make this card or one of the previous cards that you saw. Maybe make a couple and get them sent for World Card Making Day. So follow along, grab a piece of cardstock. I think that you will enjoy this project. It's really very simple and yeah, and cute too. All right, so these are the two different designs that I did. There's so many variations that you could use, but I am going to show a variation of this one today. So I'm using mint macaron, and oh, shoot, I forgot to grab my paper. I'm using one of our new Christmas papers. Let me just find it in here for you. It's in our holiday catalog, but I'll find it here real quick. This catalog's not that big, right? Okay, so here's the stamp set, and the paper has to be close. There it is. So it is called Trimming the Town Designer Series paper, and it's a horrible angle. So you see the houses, which I don't have, so they're cute, and I probably will have them, but I don't have them yet. But I did get all of the paper, and so I'm using the back side of two of these pieces to get my blue really pretty design. But yeah, so that's what I'm using there. I do have my paper cut, so I'm just using my Simply Scored, and I'm going to lay these aside. I'll bring them back then. And so let me start with my scoring. So 5.5 by 8.5, and you'll cut off 1/4 of an inch, so it'll be actually 8 1/4, and that's what this is. However, after I show you this, I will explain why I changed it on my pretty peacock card. So you're going to start out by scoring at 1/4 and 3/4. And I find it easier to score at this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 1/4 here and my 3/4. And then I'm going to flip that around. So now I want to score at, let's see here. I want 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. So 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. So the sides of my box are 1/2 inch wide, and the front and the back are 3.5 inches. Okay, that's good to know, because if you want to fill anything on the inside, you'll need to know that dimension. So I will tell you that I cut a piece of cardstock white to go inside of here, and I cut that at 3 3/8 by 5 3/8. Now the reason I did that is because you've got some folds in here, and it's going to make it a little tight if you cut it to the exact 3.5 inches. So that's going to buckle it and make it not look so nice. So you will want to cut that down. Now I didn't use white inside of every single one. In fact, just trying to think here what I did. Oh, for this one, I did, I used white in the background. It's actually our shimmery white, so I know you can't probably see it, but the back of the little Rudolph there is shimmery. For this one, I actually cut 2 pieces of designer paper, and I cut this at 3 3/8 wide because it's going to go on here, and this one's 3.5, and then this one is 1 7/8 because I wanted them to layer like that. All right, now for this one, I went and cut out my circle, the same circle I used to cut this. I cut out of here. But the one that I'm doing today, I'm not putting this, I'm not stamping inside of here. So that's going to look just a little bit different. But before you start putting anything together, you've got to decide what you want your front to look like. So you have to either punch or die cut your openings while it's still flat. Okay, so let me just show you a couple of choices that I used. So I used the, let me pull this back in here. All right, so I used, for both of them, I used the rectangle stitch dies. And for this one, I used this piece. For this one, I used the longer one that's in here because my word was a little bit longer. My saying was a little bit longer. Okay. Then for my circles, I used the layering circle framelets. And I used a larger one here than I did here. The other choices that you can have are the stitched shapes framelets. And I did use that for a piece that I'm going to use on my other card. So I did use that one for that. All right, so let me put these back again. And we have, so we have our measurements here. We're ready to fold. And by the magic of television, we have them die cut already. Okay. So let me get the scoring board out of here because we're finished with that. And now we're ready to put this together and decorate. Now, if you want to do any stamping on here, you're going to want to do that before you glue it together. So I'm going to pull in my handy dandy scrap paper here. And I'm going to just add a couple of snowflakes from this set. Oh, I didn't show you. The stamp set that I'm using for this card is Warm and Toasty. And I showed you last week, I've been wanting to use this set, and I showed you the little polar bear here in our cute little frame card and on my scrapbook page. So that I've been just dying to use these adorable things. Those of you that stamp with me regularly probably know that this isn't my typical taste in stamps, but these are so daggone cute that I could not resist them. All right, so the snowflake comes in this set, so I'm going to go ahead and let me remove the stamp. And I'm using Misty Moonlight because that's the color of my designer paper, and the cardstock again is Mint Macaron. So I'm just going to put a couple of these on here. Okay, that's finished. I just clean that off. And then I do want to put this back on here because I'm going to stamp my saying. Okay. All right, so the background is finished that I want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and do my folds now. You'll definitely want to have your bone folder handy because you'll want to burnish those folds. Make sure that they're nice and crisp. This one is just a little bit hard to fold because it's so narrow. So you want to get that nice and straight. And then these two. There we go. Okay. Now we are to the point that I want to tell you why I changed up my second card. You see this edge? This is the edge that we need to glue, and it is very narrow. So the only adhesive that you could possibly use that wouldn't be too wide. Oh, excuse me. I guess I'm taping this pretty late at night. Is the green glue. And I don't want to use that because I want it to be, when I've got it together, I want it to be done. So what I did was, all right, so I found what works okay with this is if you use your silicone mat And then just use your Stampin' Seal Plus because that holds really well. Holds like tear and tape. So I just have to be careful that I don't come over my fold. Now you see there how it ran out over the edge of the card. So what I need to do now is just fold that into itself, and it will just add extra stickiness there. That'll take you just a few seconds because you want to get that folded in nicely without messing it up. Okay, so this is where I made the change because we cut 1/4 of an inch off of there, and we didn't really have to, other than that if I didn't cut a little bit off of it, when we folded this card together, that 1/2 inch that would have been in here would have caused a little too much fullness because it would have folded the whole way across. Actually, it folds down on there, and that's not terrible. So I think what you can do, instead of cutting that off at 8 1/4, just leave it and just change your scoring lines so that you've got a 1/2 inch first and then another 1/2 inch, okay? Which would move these score lines over to 4 1/2 and 5 instead of, yeah, let me just check that to make sure I'm right. Yeah, so 4 1/2 and 5. All right, I will try to make sure I get those measurements down here for you. Actually, I'll do a blog post and post that down so that you've got that. All right, now before I glue that down, I do want to put my inside together because that is hard to put in once you've got it all folded up in a box. So I'll show you how I do that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and glue this one here. And I wouldn't have to put this white piece in here, but it really, when you see how I'm going to put this together, you'll see why it works to have this all in one piece. And it helps me to keep that nice and straight. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. It's ready to go inside. And now, here's the trick. All right, so this is going to go, this is my front. It goes inside here. But I don't want to forget that this is going to be gluing over here. So what I do is I stick, turn it the right side, I stick it down on the inside, line it up, make sure everything's nice and straight, but I do not stick it down out here. And I know this takes a couple hands, but it really is not that hard. And then this piece, so I have it folded down here and flat, and I'm just going to slide this in between. Can you see there my white piece? My inside is laying flat to the front, and I am going to close this little flat part, and then I'm just going to lay this right down over top of it and burnish that with my hand. Okay, so what that did was that glued my back down, and that glued the back piece down and the flap down at the same time. Okay, really, really quick and easy. Just a little bit of, keeping that back piece up until you have that folded down. And I love how that turned out. That turned out really cute. All right, now, so like I said, I'm not putting that circle inside of here like I did, or cutting out this circle, because I'm going to take my circle and stamp this little character on it. So they are in a sled, a boat that's on a sled, basically. And they're caroling. So the bunnies are caroling. And that's going to go here. Now, I also had, I lost it. I had the circle that I cut out from here. And you can use that for accent if you want to. And I'm not sure where it disappeared to, but it's totally gone. What's surprise, surprise, right? But I had die cut it with the same die cut, and then I was just going to tuck it behind here for a little extra accent, but it definitely doesn't need it. And I'm not going to pop this piece up, I don't think. I am going to go ahead and put some green glue on here, though, because this way I don't have to figure out exactly where I put my glue. And then I'm just going to stick that right there. And let me just press that down a little bit. All right, and now we're ready for our tag. And I'm going to go ahead and show you my bow. And I'm using, this is not the same blue. This is actually Seaside Spray. It's our shimmery ribbon, but I think it goes really well with the Misty Moonlight paper. And I see I keep getting out of camera here. Scissors. And then I'm going to just use a glue dot on that to stick that down. And that, whoops, that goes right here. And my words are going to get stamped as soon as I find my paper. Oh, well, there it was. I don't know how I missed it, but it was laying where I looked. Go figure. All right, so I want to put the Here's to a Cool Yule, but it's a little small, so I decided to add the snowflakes beside it. And actually, I didn't want to do that. I want to ink part in mint macaron and the snowflakes in the blue. So I'm just going to go like that and go like that. And now I can stamp them both on here. There we go. Okay, and then I thought that it needed just a touch of bling yet, and I'm going to add our blue adhesive backed gems. And that is going to go, let's see, I'm going to use the darker one since our paper is darker. And that'll just be there as one of the snowflakes. Okay. Now, this is going to get glued to the back, but right behind where our hole is. So I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on. And then I'm just going to tuck it in here and try to line it up with my hole. And voila, there we go. Press that in. And there is our box card. And so this will fold flat so that you can mail it. It should be 4 1/4 inches wide. Let me look here quick. That doesn't seem quite right. It's just 4 inches. That's right. It's just 4 inches wide. But it's 5 1/2 inches long. Not long, but it's not a long card. How do you say that? Anyways, I think that's cute, but you know what? I think I didn't color anything on here, but I might just add a little wink of Stella to this bunny's scarf, just to give it a little bit of character. And it might spread the blue a little bit as well, which is fine. There we go. Aren't they so cute? All right, and maybe on the sleds, or the runners, I should say. There we go. All right, I hope you had fun with this card. I hope that you will pull some paper out and try it. It's so easy to do, and just the possibilities to come up with are just unimaginable. And of course, I only have 2 to show you. Actually, now I have 3 because they are just a little bit different. But I stayed with the same color scheme for all 3 of them. I do want to say that this one, you can see that I used our foil paper. I used our brushed brush metallic paper from our holiday catalog. and it's a little hard to see in this light, but this paper actually has, you can see it a little bit there, there's brush marks going across this way, and this one I have punched out that the brush marks are coming down this direction, and if you can see them. So they're just a very, very rich looking paper, and so I just punched those out with our punches. And I used our carryover designer paper in the background there. That's from last year's holiday catalog, and we carried it over. I'm so excited about that. All right. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you'll have fun. Go get yourself a cute caricature stamp set for Christmas. We have several of them in the catalog. This is just